Good morning, Governor and Secretary. For the record, we have a quorum, and I know the Attorney General will not be joining us. On our consent agenda today for the Board of Examiners, we have 7 items on our consent agenda, but I'll go through those real quick. We have our minutes from the May 19th meeting. Item number 2 is from the Department of Administration. This is a request for recognition of assignment. This is for the Idaho State Liquor Division. Item number 3 is from the Idaho State Tax Commission. This is a request for authority to transfer funds per Idaho Code 63-3067(2) from the general fund to the state refund fund to pay refunds for individual income tax refunds for fiscal year 2027. I know we have Chairman Bernasconi and some of his team members are here if you have any questions on that one. Item number 4 is from the Division of Financial Management, and I know the FPAC committee. I'll put for the record, we have Attorney General Labrador is with us. Item number 4 from the Division of Financial Management and the Fiscal Policy Advisory Council is a request to revise the state travel policy and procedures to provide recommended updates, incorporate best practices, and modernization of state travel policy. In that section, you'll see a list of the summary of changes, as well as a red line and a clean copy. And our plan is to send that out, if once upon approval, to all the state agencies. Item number 5 is from the Military Division. This is a request for approval pursuant to Idaho Code 46806 for the Idaho Military Division to accept a check from the Gowan Field Unaccompanied Housing Committee of approximately $1.6 million to transfer the Gowan Field housing operations from a federally controlled operation to a state activity. I know we have Kevin Hickey here from the Military Division. And item number 6 is from the Department of Health and Welfare. This is a request for accordance for the appropriation pass. This is our quarterly request for $322,269,500 to be transferred from the general fund to the Cooperative Welfare Fund during the first quarter of fiscal year 27. And then item number 7, there are 5 pieces there from the Idaho State Police. We have Lieutenant Colonel Swigert here. This is a request for approval pursuant to Idaho Code 675302(20) and 672901(n) to continue to pay overtime shifts for previously approved contracts Idaho State Police has with the Idaho Environmental Coalition at the INL, World Triathlon, in Coeur d'Alene, and Idaho Power. In addition, Idaho ISP requests to pay overtime shifts for security and police escort agreements. Their second piece, number B, is request for overtime payments for forensic lab managers, quality manager, and forensic scientists 2, 3, and 4 who work in the labs, forensic services during FY27. C is to request pay overtime shifts at straight time during FY27 to commission lieutenants working the grants previously approved by the board. D is a request to pay overtime to staff who participate in outreach and education of the fentanyl and substance abuse programs funded through the State Department of Education Millennium Fund. And E is to request ONL, which is overtime approval to assist federal law enforcement with public safety logistics such as arrest operations or transports related to subjects who have been determined to be in the U.S. illegally. ISP requests to have this reimbursed for this purpose from the Governor's Emergencies Fund not to exceed $300,000. And with that, Governor, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Attorney General, that concludes the consent agenda if there's any questions.
Questions?
Governor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented by the Controller.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Consent agenda has been approved.
Governor and members of the board, on our informational agenda, item number 8 is a notification from the Attorney General's office for a deputy AG who's been accepted for additional outside employment to work at the U of I College of Law here in Boise in the fall semester and the state insurance fund. And with that, Governor, members of the board, that concludes the Board of Examiners agenda.
Second.
Moved to adjourn. All in favor say aye. All
Aye.
opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we are adjourned. The Board of Land Commissioner is Debbie. Okay.
My fault.
You screwed everything up. all those poor people that came all the way to the Board of Examiners were bored to death. Ready? Board of Land Commissioners come to order. Director Miller.
Governor, Land Board members, good morning. This is the regular meeting of the State Board of Land Commissioners for Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. So we'll jump quickly through the department reports as we have a pretty lengthy agenda today, followed by the Governor's Wildfire Press Conference. We'll start with timber sales. In May, the Department of Land sold 8 endowment sales at auction, 6 of which saw competitive bidding, representing a 12% upbid over the combined appraised value. 3 sales did not sell at auction, and these will be reevaluated and offered for sale at a later date. The department sold 1 small sale for the Idaho Transportation Department. And as you can see, 1 G&A sale did not sell. I'm told this sale was on the Sawtooth National Forest. Significant logging and hauling costs. I think we're upwards of 7,000 feet is where the sale is. So our G&A program will take a look at that one and rework that sale. About 24.3 million board feet of volume on the endowment side was sold in May for more than $6.3 million and $259.56 a thousand. On the next table, the department is offering 21 sales and just over 100 million board feet of volume for auction in the month of June. Total advertised value of these sales is about $15.3 million. On page 2, current volume under contract is just over 456 million board feet in 157 active contracts, valued at $154.5 million. On the next table, fiscal year to date, you can see we're sitting at $73 million in timber receipts with about $7.9 million in stumpage and interest expected this month. And looking at the next table, the FY26 timber sale program, you can see that 355.3 million board feet of volume is either sold or in process, which puts us at 107% of our fiscal year volume target. There's a number of reasons for this, including the salvage sales that were sold following the blowdown event last December that our foresters worked quickly to offer for sale. As you can see, because of our sales, we are at 200% of our annual poll targets. Turning the page onto page 3, looking at the graphs, you can see we're sitting at 97% of the 3-year average for cumulative harvest receipts and 87% of the 3-year average for volume harvested. As we've discussed, the lower volume harvested is directly related to the mild conditions and the wet logging roads that we experienced during the early and prolonged spring breakup. Onto the graph on page 4. Similar story here. Sound like a broken record, but you do see the volatility in the market with lumber prices increasing a bit over the past few months. But even with some of the volatility, the endowment sales are still doing pretty well. Governor, Land Board members, I'll stop there and see if there's any questions on the timber.
Questions?
Governor?
Controller.
Thank you, Governor and Director. I'm going to come back to the very first with your May and the 3 cells that did not sell. If you have any more update of why they did not sell and plans for moving forward on those.
I don't have that information. I don't know if Jim Elbin has, Governor, Mr. Controller, I'm sorry. But I don't know where Jim is. There's a lot of people in the crowd. Jim, do you have any information on those sales?
Need the question repeated? I was distracted.
Yeah. Governor Jim's easily distracted, so. He's wearing a very bright Vandal tie there. Jim, just a quick question was the follow-up on the 3 cells that did not sell. What was the reasoning for, and is there something, I guess, as we continue to see sales not selling, are we praising the right value, or were there things that we have to do more to make these more enticing or the right way to sell these?
Governor, members of the Land Board, for the record, Jim Elvin, Trust Lands Division Administrator. I think what you're seeing is the lag between when we appraise and then the fuel price spike, and that's the main driver behind a lot of it's just logging and hauling costs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Governor, Land Board members, if there's no further questions there, we'll jump into Attachment B, endowment transactions, leases, permits, and real estate. The department issued a total of 14 instruments and a mix of leases, lease assignments, and land use permits in May, and completed a road easement for the Paddy Flat Property Owners Association. On page 2, in leasing revenue, you can see that revenue is looking great, and we're currently exceeding our fiscal year-end revenue projection by nearly $800,000. This is due in large part to premium bids in the mineral and geothermal programs. These leases are, as you know, Governor, are garnering a lot of interest, and the Bureau and area staff are doing a lot to encourage a lot of interest and competition in these leases. This fiscal year has been a record for the mineral and geothermal programs, with about $1.3 million in premium upbids, so we're excited to see those numbers. The graph on page 3, you can see we are tracking well ahead of the 3-year average for revenue on the leasing side at nearly $9.5 million. And onto the permanent fund revenue and royalties on page 4, nearly $3.7 million in revenue has been deposited into the permanent fund since July 1st, and again, most of this is derived from sand and gravel lease royalties. Governor, I'll stop there. If
Questions?
there's any questions.
Mr. Anton?
Is this on? Okay, good. Governor, members of the Land Board, good morning. Well, we continue to operate in this kind of extraordinary financial market environment. As you can see, the portfolio was up 3.1% during the month of May, which left us up 15.8% year to date. Through yesterday, we were up 16.6%. So we did have a little sell-off in early June, but with the news that we're reaching an agreement with Iran and with some of the IPOs taking place like SpaceX, the market kind of recovered the last couple of days. So we're hoping to end the fiscal year in a very strong place, given 2 weeks left to go. But really what's been driving the market over the last year or so is just this huge investment in artificial intelligence, both in terms of data centers, the semiconductors that go in those data centers, the power that's required to operate those data centers. So all the companies associated with that network have really taken off this year and driven strong corporate profits. And we've seen big increases in corporate earnings over the course of the year. There's also been, optimism now that we're going to have a ceasefire with Iran, that inflation will come back down. Inflation has been a concern, particularly with energy prices being up. If you looked at the CPI last month, it was 4.2%. So there's hope that will come down, and as the Strait of Hormuz reopens, and we begin more oil production over there. But anyway, it's been a very strong year. We anticipate ending with excess reserves, which will allow us to continue to grow the permanent fund and beneficiary distributions. I'll just highlight one other thing on Exhibit B. State Controller Wolf asked last time that we add some visibility between sort of growth and value managers. And if you look at the fiscal year, you can see both on the U.S. side for both large, mid, and small, and international side, it's really been a market dominated more by value stocks than growth stocks. And that's been one of the challenges with our global equity, because we have 2 growth managers and 1 value manager, and that's kind of hurt us relative to the benchmark on the global equity side. But all in all, a good year. Barrow Hanley's had an exceptional year. You see they were up 94.1% through the month of May. They were actually up 108.5 yesterday. So we've been trimming them back. I've been reluctant to rebalance, but when you've more than doubled in a fiscal year, we got to take a little off the table to remain our allocation target, get close to our allocation targets. Anyway, with that, I'll stand for any questions.
So if the market's being driven by AI, how come the best performers small cap value, which is anything but AI? Explain that to me.
Yeah, it's a good question. A lot of the supporters for AI are priced on the small cap relative. It's really the value is less about the sector they're in, because many of them are in technology, but more of their valuations. They've been trading at really low prices because the small cap stocks have been beat up. So many of them have been technology companies, just they haven't been recognized like the large caps in terms of their valuations. So it is sort of a weird situation.
Yeah, because you would
You would think technology is all growth.
not expect those to be value, other than it's the old reversion to the norm and they've been beat up so long and they just started to catch up.
You're correct. On the large cap side, that's definitely the case, that most of the growth is the technology. And on the international side, a lot of the banking stocks have done well as interest rates have come up, and those are more value related, and that's helped push international value stocks up.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Governor. And Chris, thank you for answering the thing on the global equity. Is there discussion amongst your board or opportunity then to diversify the portfolio if we have both of our global equity or in growth funds versus having one of them being a value?
Controller Wolf, yeah, so right now we have two growth managers and one value manager on the global side. And we're considering, at least Chris and I, we haven't taken this to the board yet, we've been looking into possibly doing what we did on the international side where we have a growth core and a value manager, so maybe replacing one of our growth managers with a core manager.
Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Governor, Land Board members, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I think we have 6 items on the agenda, the first being the draft minutes of the May 19th meeting. The next item, item 4, is a presentation on the Gooding Readiness Center, and we'll bring up Matt Courtney to present.
All right. Good morning, Governor, members of the Land Board. For the record, my name is Matt Courtney. I'm the Real Estate Program Specialist for the Idaho Department of Lands. In attendance as well today is Colonel Farrow and Brian Adelson of the Idaho Military Division, right over there. They are available to answer any questions the board may have regarding IMD's request. The question before the Land Board is whether to authorize the Idaho Department of Lands to declare surplus and dispose of the Idaho Military Division property known as the Gooding Readiness Center pursuant to the Surplus Property Act, which is Idaho Code 58331 through 335. The property is located at 417 North Main Street in Gooding, Idaho, in Gooding County. It is adjacent to the fairgrounds and borders US 46 on its eastern side. The property to be sold totals 3.66 acres of land with improvements. The improvements consist of an 8,776 square foot commercial style building, a paved parking lot, a large fenced gravelled area, as well as 2 metal storage buildings. The military acquired the property in 1958 from the city of Gooding. It was originally developed and utilized as a readiness center from 1959 until late 2025. The military ceased operations of the Gooding Readiness Center as it is transitioning to the Readiness Center Transformation Master Plan, which requires all Army units to modernize facilities and consolidate to meet relevant national training objectives. The property has been appraised and has a market value of $470,000. Upon approval from the Land Board for disposition, the department will follow the Surplus Property Act by first notifying other state agencies to determine interest. If none are interested, the property will be offered to tax-supported entities, and if still unclaimed, it'll be offered at public auction in Gooding or Ada County. Therefore, staff recommends that the Land Board authorize the department to declare the Gooding Readiness Center property as surplus and proceed with its disposition under the Surplus Property Act. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
How many more of these have we got in queue?
Governor, so talking with the military division, it sounds like we have roughly anywhere from 8 to 10 more.
Okay,
Time frame?
what's the cadence?
Currently, Governor, we are trying to get at least 1 to 2 done a year.
And it'll be offered, it's next to fairgrounds. Gooding County's gonna bid on it. But if they don't bid on it, then it goes to auction and they can buy it there or not.
Correct, in a sense. So if we get to that point, if no state agencies want it and tax-supported are interested, they can send offer to us, and then we have the ability to negotiate if the military would like.
Don't we have to at least get the appraised price?
Not for surplus properties.
So it'll be up for sale.
Yeah.
Like we didn't pay out.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Governor,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
guess just to follow up on your questions, so why 1 or 2 a year? Like, what is we're just stretching this out?
So, Mr. Secretary, or Governor, Mr. Secretary, it's just depends on scheduling. We also have other properties with like the fishing game Department of Labor now too has a property on top of all our acquisitions, dispositions, exchanges we're also working on. So it comes down to just manpower.
Is it just a manpower question?
Big part of it is, yeah.
And the revenue goes back to the military division.
Correct.
So we're just an agent to sell it from.
Yeah, we take an administrative fee to cover costs, but
What's the fee?
depends on the property, how much it sells for.
You work pretty cheap?
I think it's about 5%.
That was cheaper than a realtor.
Governor, we're the best deal in town.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Governor, Land Board members, we'll move on to item 5. These are the results of a geothermal lease live auction, and we've got Jim Elbin back up here.
Good morning again, Governor, members of the board. Before you today is the geothermal lease H500005. This lease was processed an application on about 1,300 acres of public school endowment land 10 miles northeast of Weiser in Washington County. Advertised live auction was held on April 16th. The department recommends that we offer this lease to Ormat, Nevada, which submitted a successful premium bid of $310,000. The existing lessees on the property were contacted, and also a public meeting was held where roughly 50 attendees showed up. No major concerns came from those discussions. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Governor?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Governor. And Jim, one of the questions we've had in the past, and just maybe touch base with this one, is our expertise and knowledge of how we set up those terms and those percentages of those royalty rates. Is that something that you've gained from other states or gained insight from others that have done this geothermal, or is that the market that's helping drive that? If you could help walk through that.
Governor, Controller, and members of the board, it's a great question. It is modeled on research that our staff's doing with multiple state agencies, and honestly, we probably have one of the better rates as far as for the endowment beneficiaries. We've pushed to be a little more aggressive.
Why don't you send that document you send to me to the rest
The
of the
rest
board,
of,
so they
will
see
do,
where our rate is compared to the other states?
will do. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, Governor, the next item also belongs to Jim Elbin. Item 6, the mineral lease live auction results.
Again, good morning, Governor, members of the board. Before you have mineral lease E220001. The department has processed an application for a sand and gravel mineral lease on 120 acres of public school endowment land about 3 miles northeast of Rathdrum in Kootenai County. The advertised live auction was held on April 29th. The department recommends that the lease be offered to Premier LLC, which submitted a successful premium bid of $100,000. The lease includes 10-year term, and it has a minimum annual royalty payment of $2,000 a year plus $1.17 per short ton royalty rate. The existing lessee was contacted, and in this case is also the majority neighbor owning the property to the east. Mineral site disturbance is expected to be minimal compared to the full lease area, and no viewshed concerns or surrounding land. As it is or visibility from surrounding land, as it is a young to mid-rotation timber stand surrounding the property, or surrounding the rock pit. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
the map, it goes right up to the edge of a road.
Diagonal.
What are you gonna do, leave one line of trees there so you can't see the gravel pit?
Governor, when the trees are ready to cut, I'm pretty sure we'll take them.
We get, this is a heavily timbered parcel. Do we get to take the timber off before we lease it to these guys?
Governor, members of the board, yes.
Oh, good.
Yep.
They might make more money off the trees than they do off the gravel. All right, any other questions? Continue.
Okay, Governor, items 7 and 8 they belong to Julia Lauk. She's our state forester. The first is our state membership in the Timber Protective Associations.
Good morning,
Welcome.
Governor, members of the board. For the record, I'm Julia Lauk, State Forester with the Department of Lands. This is an annual consent agenda item for the board. Idaho code requires an annual review of each Timber Protective Association. There's 4 specific items listed in code beyond the normal readiness review that we perform on our IDL forest protective districts. These readiness review items were reviewed with the Clearwater Potlatch Timber Protective Association on May 15th and the Southern Idaho Timber Protective Association on May 20th. No deficiencies were found. It is the department's recommendation to authorize state participation as a member of the Clearwater Potlatch Timber Protective Association and the Southern Idaho Timber Protective Association.
Very good. Questions? Tell us about our credit card.
Go ahead, Julia.
Governor, members of the board, this is also an annual consent agenda item for the board. Because wildfire activity and associated suppression costs are inherently unpredictable, expenditures during severe fire seasons can exceed both the annual appropriation and the available balance of the fire suppression fund. To ensure IDL can meet its statutory obligation to suppress wildfires without interruption, the department annually requests Land Board authorization to issue deficiency warrants should suppression expenses exceed available funding. Upon approval of the Land Board, the state controller is authorized to issue deficiency warrants against the general fund to pay for suppression costs as they are incurred, ensuring uninterrupted wildfire response and protection of life, property, and natural resources throughout the fire season. A graph representing the state of Idaho's wildland fire annual costs over the last 20 years, adjusted for inflation to represent 2026 dollars, is shown in attachment 1. The department will provide monthly fire suppression expense updates to the Land Board throughout the 2026 fire season. As for the current financial position, as of June 9th, 2026, IDL is actively deficiency spending, with the cash balance below $0. We are expecting the statutory transfer of $32.8 million on July 1. Based on projected billing and reimbursement activity, the estimated fund balance after settlement of all reimbursable incidents through 2025 is approximately $4.8 million. The projected balance does not include the fiscal year 27 appropriation, any estimates for the 2026 season, potential outstanding bills from federal partners, fire cash reimbursement costs, pending cost share agreement reconciliation, and details in billing or reimbursement processing. These numbers represent a moment in time estimation and will change as reimbursements and cost settlements are processed. The real reason we have seen such a sharp decrease in available funds this spring is because we have been busy. This is a testament to our folks getting out and helping our neighbors. You'll hear during the readiness report that we have a marked increase in firefighter retention as well as permanent positions being fully staffed. This has allowed for more IDL resources to go out and help between last fall, this winter, and the spring, which equates to more cost. Additionally, with fire service organizations being more active year after year, we are having to bankroll these costs. It's important to note that both of those items, fire service organization mobilization and our helping of neighbors, are all reimbursable cost expenses. And fire business has collected $15 million this fiscal year and is making progress to catch up on a bit of a backlog in billing reconciliation with our federal partners. With that, it is the department's recommendation to authorize issuance of deficiency warrants pursuant to Idaho Code 38-131 and 131A to pay the fire suppression costs in fiscal year 27 if the costs of suppression exceed current available funding.
Let me see if I got this right. We got 14 days left before the, 40 million, 40 million?
32.8.
32.8 million drops in from the general fund as per the legislature. So, and you got some bills outstanding and some receipts coming in, so we're probably okay. So the action that you're got on the consent agenda basically means if we have an above average fire year towards the end of the year, we won't have cash. We'll burn through that. But right now, middle of June, we're maybe okay. But in all probability, we'll probably pretty much burn through it. Just, you don't have to take an oath, do anything else, but is that roughly what you think where we are?
Governor, yes, I would agree with that.
Okay. So, go ahead.
Maybe I misheard or misread that as of June 9th, you're at zero, so we're already, or we're below, correct?
Governor, Madam Superintendent, that is correct. We are below zero at this time, deficiency spending.
Okay, so we're already behind in that sense as far as the fire situation compared to the cash.
Correct.
Okay.
It's not impacting anything though. Because we've got money going out and money coming in. We've sent bills to other states, to federal agencies, fill in the blank. But has it had any kind of a detrimental effect on the fire division doing their work?
Governor, no, there is no negative effect because the board approved deficiency spending for fiscal year '26.
I guess then, just as a quick, let me restate what you said. The reason why it's not impacting financially negative yet is because we're still in the deficiency cycle of last fiscal year.
We just back up to the controller's office and shovel money in there.
So July 1, when we start the new fiscal year, that's, so the approval is for deficiency abilities for the coming fiscal year. Even though we're at zero or less, we're still in the deficiency cycle of the previous fiscal year.
Governor, Madam Superintendent, that is correct. Yes, we are recommending authorization of the usage of deficiency warrants for fiscal year '27.
And we really don't have any other choice. What, do we know, and maybe Director Miller does, because we saw last year Oregon had to have a special session to pay for their fire. Do we know how many states operate on deficiency warrants, how many prepay, how many have to have a crisis and have a special session? Just, you don't have to, but it would be helpful for the board if we all knew kind of what all the other states were doing. And we know the federal government just prints money. So they got an easy deal.
Governor, a question. Julia, and maybe this is for Rochelle and her team, but you talked about being busy this spring already and sending our team members out to other states and other federal fires. And my understanding is over the years, sometimes some of those, getting those receipts back from our partners takes some time. Is there any idea of how much or what we're looking at that's still to come in from our partners?
The last, Mr. Controller, Governor, the last numbers that I looked at, if we were to actually reconcile everything, we believe that we would have that $4.8 million balance. But the last estimate I saw that was currently owed to us is upwards of $49 million. And we owe a lot as well.
Governor?
Go ahead.
Nice follow-up question to the controllers, but when we are deploying resources to other states, given the governor's question, the controllers, do we take into consideration the likelihood we're going to get paid as one of the considerations, or is it just a resource distribution? Like they're on fire, so we're going to help. They help us when we're on fire.
Mr. Secretary, Governor, we like to help when we can help because when we need help, we also would like them to come as quickly as possible.
Well, and I guess it just goes to the governor's question of how different states handle it. If a particular state doesn't pay their bills, I think as a board, we'd at least like to know when we're allocating resources.
Mr. Secretary, Governor, I don't know that we have an issue with anybody not paying their bills. It's just a matter of the timing that it takes to get caught up on fire costs, cost share settlements, and then the billing reconciliation. We can work on, for future information, how other states handle their suppression spending.
Pretty good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thanks, Julia. I guess that's it for the consent agenda, Governor.
Governor, I move approval and adoption of the consent agenda.
Second?
Moved and seconded, we adopt the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The consent agenda has been adopted. The regular action.
Okay, Governor, the only item on the regular agenda is item 9. This is proposed legislation for the 2027 legislative session, and we'll bring up Shannon Shillette to present on this.
All right. Governor, Land Board, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Shannon Shillette. I'm the Division Administrator for the Minerals, Navigable Waterways, and Oil and Gas Department here at IDL. I'm here to ask a question. The subject is proposed legislation for the 2027 legislative session, and the question presented, shall the Land Board of Commissioners approve the department's 2027 legislative proposal? A brief discussion of the why. Mining operations with signalization facilities require the approval of a reclamation plan and a signalization facility permanent closure plan under the Mineland Reclamation Act, Title 47, Chapter 15, Idaho Code. In addition, this statute currently requires the board to review the reclamation plans every 5 years and signalization facility permanent closure plans periodically in 47-1508 E and F. IDAPA 20-03-02-120-19A requires operators to submit an updated permanent closure cost estimate to the department for review every 3 years. To simplify the reporting and review process, IDL is looking at amending the statute and rule to synchronize updates to every 5 years. To accomplish this, the following changes would be made. Modification of Idaho Code 47-1508F for a permanent closure plan approved by the board after July 1st, 2025, at least once every 5 years, the board shall review, etc. End of change. And then eliminate IDAPA 20-03-02-120-19A, which states once every 3 years, the operator must submit an updated permanent closure cost estimate to the department for review, etc. The department's recommendation is to approve the department's 2027 legislative proposal with the potential for further revisions and withdrawals. And with that, I will now stand for any questions.
Questions? Motions?
Governor, just a quick question for Shannon.
Go ahead.
Have you had any discussions with industry already on this?
Governor, Controller Wolf, that's a great question. Yes, sir, we have had discussions with industry on this subject.
All right.
Motions?
Governor, I move that we approve the department's 2027 legislative proposal with the potential for further revisions and withdrawals.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
This meeting is being recorded.
And this meeting is being recorded.
Thank you for your time.
Shannon, you need to repeat all that because the recording didn't get it. Okay, Governor, Land Board members, on to the information agenda. We just have 2 items here. And the first, item 10, is our pre-fire season forecast. We'll have our State Forester, Julia Lauk, kick it off, introduce her staff and other IDL presenters, as well as our guests. So this is something that we do every time this time of year, and we're pleased to see so many of our partners in fire included today. So go ahead, Julia.
Good morning again, Governor, members of the board. For the record, I'm Julia Lauk, State Forester with the Department of Lands. Jim Wallman from the National Interagency Fire Center is here to present the seasonal outlook for us again. But you'll notice from there the presenters are not the same as they have been in the past. In alignment with the approved fire strategic plan, and in order to provide a holistic picture of our fire program, Jake Strohmeyer, our Operations Division Administrator, will be presenting the operational readiness as the firefighters and fire wardens fall within his chain of command. I will then provide programmatic readiness updates. As this is a 3-part presentation, I would ask that you would hold your questions, at least for Jake and I, until the end, in case they may be addressed further in the presentation. But before I hand it over to Jim, I'd like to point out that we have a very large number of our wildland fire partners in the room today. So many, in fact, that I'm not going to introduce them all by name, but I will ask them all to stand, including IDL Fire Program Leadership, while I note who is represented. First, key IDL Fire Leadership, we have Josh Harvey and Mike McManus here today, amongst others. U.S. Forest Service Leadership from the regional office, including an acting Deputy Regional Forester. U.S. Wildland Fire Service, including both geographic area fire chiefs and others. And from the military division, we have the Idaho Office of Emergency Management, both the Bureau Chief and the Operations Branch Chief, and the Idaho National Guard today. From the Idaho Fire Chiefs Association, we have the president, and we also have the Nature Conservancy in the room. Thank you all for coming today to show support of our fire program and the readiness for this fire season that we all share. With that, I will hand it over to Jim.
All right, thank you, Julia. Good morning, Governor, members of the Land Board. I'm Jim Wall. I'm going to go through your seasonal outlook for this summer. And as we start off here in the next slide, we're going to look at what happened over the winter, because I think this has a pretty good, gives us an idea of what's happening. So precipitation on the left image was near normal across most of the state, which was good news overall. However, temperatures were the second warmest on record from December through May. Temperatures on average of more than 6 degrees above normal for the entire 6-month period. So that had a really profound impact on what happened to the snowpack over the winter. So that's shown on the next slide. As we look at that on the left here, we have the images from April 1st showing the snowpack below normal. Anything in red is less than 50%. The yellow is generally above 70%. So up in north, we did a little bit better. However, all those little dots on there are the individual stations. We're going to focus on a couple of those here on the right. One is up along the Montana border around 6,000 feet. And because the snow levels were so high, the snow was confined above generally that elevation up north, 6,000 feet. It was above about 7,000 feet in the southern half of the state. But you can see there the snowpack was generally near to above normal. It's starting to come off now. However, and now we lose that, but as we go back and look a little bit lower, just to the south and west of there, about 4,500 feet, the snowpack was pretty much well below normal. But as we look on that black line there for this year, that red line at the bottom, that's the previous record low. And we melted off about 2 weeks earlier than normal, or actually not earlier than normal, earlier than the previous record. And that's true for a lot of lower elevations all across the state. And it's not just located, here in Idaho, but all across the West as well. As we go to the next slide, we can talk about the drought monitor. Just looking nationwide before we go into Idaho, almost 60% of the country is in drought. Drought is starting to improve in the southeast, but out west, because of the snow drought, we're starting to see the impacts, and drought is really starting to increase. So we go to the next slide and look at Idaho, a close-up view of Idaho. We have extreme to exceptional drought in the southern quarter of the state, with the exceptional drought in the Owyhee Mountains and down into southern Twin Falls County, even up into the Panhandle, we have moderate to severe drought there, with all other areas of the state at least abnormally dry conditions. Looking how that's changed over the past year, in the next slide, we can see that the drought has significantly worsened in the southern portion of the state and also in 2 portions of the Panhandle. The only areas that we saw improvement over the past year were along the Montana border in the Bitterroots. So that's the only area, but we'll probably see that worsen as we saw the snowpack is quite low for this time of year. So go to the next slide. What that has on the impact on our heavier fuels, our 100-hour fuels, like your 1 to 3 hour sticks, or your 1,000 hours, like your 5-inch diameter logs, both in central Idaho and the Panhandle. On the left, we have the 100-hour fuels. You can see they, on average, have been below normal through the spring into this time of year. When we have some of our wetter periods, they come up to near normal, but once we dry out again, they drop to well below normal, if not records, and that red line is the previous record dry for the time of year. So on the right, we have the 1,000 hours. They don't even recover to even above
Meeting is
normal.
being recorded.
They don't recover to above normal. They just get to near normal. As we get to a drier pattern, they start to drop once again. So on the next slide here, I try to remember where I left off here on that. So thank you. So just kind of give an idea of the fine fuel loading. One thing I didn't mention is we did have an exceptionally wet April in southwest Idaho. We had a record April at the Boise airport. And what that did is grew a lot of fine fuels here in southwest Idaho. So I threw a picture of my dog in just from last month, just so you can get a reference of the height of it in here. She's about 16 inches at the shoulder, so it's pretty continuous. Fine fuel growth out toward the Oregon Trail here, about 1 to 2 feet. And then I took another photo about a week ago, kind of looking up towards Lucky Peak, and you can see how quickly that's dried since mid-May now. So that's indicative of what's here in southwest Idaho. But as you go farther east, even though we didn't have the record rainfall, we did have some decent growth. But because we didn't have the low elevation snowpack, a lot of the grasses from the last 2 years are still standing. So we're dealing with that as well. So next slide. Kind of look at just what the seasonal outlook's looking for. It's going to be warm and dry much in the northwest. Just looking at the monsoon in the southwest, it's generally going to be above normal is the original forecast. However, it's very low confidence due to the rapid onset of El Nino. We've never seen it come on this strong, so our uncertainty is a lot higher than it normally would be. So it could be a lot weaker, but even if it does come on strong, generally we're on the periphery, and that could be more dry lightning often when we have those monsoon intrusions, unless we have a really robust one where we can get some rainfall and kind of offset the negative effects. So that's kind of what we're looking at for the summer. And then going to the next slide, the drought outlook overall, expecting worsening drought across much of the Northwest. Wherever we're not formally declared in drought in the state, we're expecting to be there by the end of summer. So next slide, looking at the outlook, just starting here for the rest of the month. In south central Idaho, we're having above normal forecast there toward Twin Falls, Burley, and also in the mountains south of Burley. We already saw the Spring Creek fire south of Burley last month, and we're also seeing quite a few more grass fires around here so far this year. And then we haven't highlighted southwest Idaho, but I would not be surprised to really see that start to pick up here in the next few days, because we are looking at a potential dry lightning event on Friday and Saturday. Going into the next month, onto July, we're expecting much of the southern portion of the state to be above normal because of the grass loading. We're expecting at least a little bit of delay, kind of a normal onset to the season in most of central and northern Idaho, although portions of the panhandle could come on a bit early and be more active in July. But then as we head to August and the peak of the season, we're expecting the whole state to have the out above normal potential just because of the dry winter, well, not necessarily dry winter, but the lack of snowpack and the heavier fuel. So that's going to continue into August and then finally into September. We're hopeful that we will get some backdoor fronts here into the northern portion of the state where it's going to be above normal. Just to the central and southern portion, we're expecting the Panhandle by the time we get to September, hopefully come back, but there are chances, because it is going to be highlighted to our west, that we could, the Panhandle could stay a longer season, similar to what we saw in 2024. But right now, we're cautiously optimistic that they will return to normal by September. That's what I have for you for the outlook this season, so thank you. I'll stay in for any questions.
Questions? Yogi Berra, it's hard to make predictions, especially about the future.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Good morning, Governor, members of the Land Board. I'm Jake Strohmeyer, Division Administrator of Operations. This morning, I'm going to give a little bit of a quick fire status update and then talk about the readiness that IDL has going into this fire season. So as of today, we've had 59 fires for 500.
This meeting is being recorded.
549 acres. 26 of those were human caused, 13 natural, and 20 are undetermined. Nationally, we're trending well above the 10-year average, both in terms of acres and numbers of fires. And we don't currently have any significant fires going on in Idaho. We've had a few larger ones, but they've been taken care of. And nationally, things are still fairly quiet, and we're at a preparedness level of 2 nationally, the same here in the Great Basin, and preparedness level 1 up in the Northern Rockies. Fire danger ranges from very high to high down here in the southern part of the state, and then moderates as you move north, going all the way to the low still up north. So moving in to our readiness for the year. So IDL, including the TPAs, continues to maintain a fleet of 50 engines. And of those, 36 will be fully staffed with qualified engine bosses this season. And it's an increase of 11 over last season. We continue to have the Teak and 20-person hand crew based out of Deary, along with the 6-person suppression module based out of Sandpoint. And in total, we have 260 operational firefighters going into the season, which is an increase of 31 over last year. 48% of these folks have 1 or more years of fire experience, so our retention's a little better this year as well. All of our permanent firefighter positions are now filled, which is the first time that this has happened since we had a number of new positions get authorized a few years back. And, Julia talked about our ability to go and help some of the other states. A lot of that is because we've got so many qualified engines, and it makes it easier for us to let folks go to go help the neighbors. IDL has approximately 175 non-fire employees that maintain fire qualifications, and these go all the way from complex operations section chiefs down to drivers who deliver food and supplies out to fires. These folks are really integral to our ability to respond to multiple starts on any given day and then really for extended attack. And I'd be remiss not to mention our one red-carded land board member, Secretary McGrain, who, will add into our 175. Oh, nice. And IDL is also continuing to look at options to increase our firefighting capacity, working with our local fire service organizations through the Idaho Fire Chiefs Association. And we can also bring on contract resources such as crews and engines as needed. So we'll have basically the same complement of aircraft we had last year. The main change is that we'll have, rather than 4 single-engine air tankers, we'll have 4 scoopers this year. 2 of those will be based out of Coeur d'Alene, 2 out of McCall, and we'll continue to have 2 seats up in Grangeville. We also have our Type 1 helicopter back this year based out of Coeur d'Alene currently, and they just came on to contract yesterday, I believe. Also, we'll be partnering with Minnesota DNR to bring on their Type 3 helicopter along with their actual heli-attack crew. This not only increases our firefighting capacity, but also gives us the opportunity to get some of our folks out on training assignments in anticipation of being able to restart our heli-attack program here with IDL, hopefully next year, and is just trying to get more folks trained up so that we can bring the helicopter on. So all of our protective districts will have their readiness reviews done this year. We're only required to do half, but we're going to do all of them again this year, and those will be done by the end of this month. The interagency guard schools across the state happened in the last couple weeks, and we've got about 400 new firefighters across the state that are being red carded. And then we continue to work with the associated logging contractors to provide qualifications and training for loggers. And so far in 2026, we've had 169 folks go through that training, and that includes 113 equipment operators. So in summary, we've definitely got some good increases over last year. We have the potential for a very challenging fire season ahead of us, but we've got all our resources fully deployed, and we're ready to go. Thank you.
The satellite in the text, that contract expires in August. You or Julia want to talk about that?
Julia will hit on that, Governor.
Right.
Governor, I have a comment. Last October, I was up in the St. Mary's new area office. And I was able to go on a tour of the new, I guess you'd call it the fire warden and their area and their new shop there. And as he walked me through, there was a lot of our fire crew there working out and doing stuff and in the kitchen. And then we went back into the garage area, and I said, how is our retention and everything? He says, well, I have to make a comment. He says, I'm probably going to lose most of these guys. And I said, why? What's the reason? He goes, well, half of them were on that Canfield Mountain ambush, and the other half came upon a side-by-side where a young individual died in a fire. And he said, so mentally, he goes, he had been a fire warden for probably 35, 40 years. He goes, I've never gone out into the woods worried that I was going to get shot at. And so I think just to reiterate the thankless job that's done, and just saying how incredible and how important it is of what our teams are doing, both us, our partners, and everything else, just a huge thank you. So I know it's become more of a mental thing and preparing the mental healthness that we've gone through of these last couple of years. So just a huge thanks.
Thank you, Controller.
Okay, Julia?
Good morning again, Governor, members of the board. Aggressive initial attack continues to be IDL's suppression priority. In aligning with that, early detection and response is critical to our continued success. Regarding early fire detection, we have 11 mountaintop cameras in place and are working to install the additional 8 that were funded in fiscal year 26, with the goal of having them all operational by the end of the season. We are working closely with the Idaho Fire Camera Interoperability Committee to share permissions, coordinate placement, and maximize limited resources. That group was generated out of the 2024 Governor's Wildfire Report recommendations and includes federal fire agencies, state partners, and utility companies. We also continue to explore the use of satellite detection systems and advanced lightning detection technologies in coordination with system developers. You asked a question about the specific contract we had for the last year. We are not planning on renewing that contract. Human-caused fire starts are trending downward, significantly dropping from a high of 80% in 2020 with no indication of an upward trajectory in the last 6 years. This demonstrates measurable progress. Cost savings associated with prevention are substantial. Early avoided human-caused starts help reduce our suppression expenditures, reduce the risk to the communities, and limits resource strain during our peak season. Specific prevention investments and efforts in the last few years have proven successful, including a gas station TV campaign that aired at 118 gas stations in and around Idaho in 2025, reaching 3.8 million motorists between May and October. We added 35 fire danger signs, bringing us to a total of 160 across the state. Those are strategically placed in high-traffic rural areas and near fire departments with an identified public awareness need. And 6 IDL-owned reader boards, in addition to two additional boards secured through partnerships. The districts that are utilizing those boards in 2025 experienced a significant reduction in unwanted human-caused fires. Prevention is important, and it is working. The cache is fully staffed, stocked, and prepared for the season. In the last year, staff in the logistics section acquired and processed approximately $4 million in federal excess personal property and firefighter property assets for Idaho Fire Service organizations. And thanks to the equipment shop, the East Idaho Forest Protective District received its 4 new engines, in addition to the fiscal year 26 strategic engine builds being completed. We're holding strong with 10 Rangeland Fire Protection Associations, or RFPAs. In 2025, they reported 69 fires, which is higher than the 10-year average of 54. There are approximately 370 members that are qualified this year, 43 of which are new RFPA firefighters. The Governor's Office of Species Conservation continues to support the RFPAs in purchasing radios and PPE required for new members. And through the Firefighter Property Program in 2025, RFPAs received 2 flatbed cargo trucks, 1 6x6 water tender, and 80 surplus tires. IDL, in partnership with the Idaho Fire Chiefs Association, finalized the 2026 Idaho Cooperative Mobilization Agreement, in which we have 95 fire service organizations signed up and available for mobilization outside of their own jurisdiction. And we continue to participate on the Great Basin Coordinating Group, Northern Rockies Coordinating Group, and the Northwest Compact. We're also currently pursuing membership with the Great Plains Compact, with anticipated completion sometime during this fire season. Regarding broader workforce development efforts that was asked about at the May Land Board, I'll note our partnership with the U of I Wildfire Program. We just delivered an excess IDL engine to the U of I on June 8th for both suppression assistance on the experimental forest, but also as a training tool for their students. We sit on the steering committee for the Lewis and Clark State College Fire Science Program, as well as the Technical Advisory Council for the Boise School District's Wildland Fire Science Program. All of these efforts pay big dividends when students from these programs are hired and already have their basic training at a level that we have helped instill, saving the state cost and time. We've been actively working with the Guard to review and update our existing reciprocal fire protection agreement to ensure that both agencies remain aligned on wildfire response roles, coordination, and support capabilities. Joint aviation preparedness activities have already occurred, including participation in the Idaho Air National Guard's annual helicopter bucket recertification. That training occurred at Lucky Peak Reservoir. We have also established a shadowing program this year that will place Idaho National Guard personnel alongside IDL helicopter managers to develop operational experience and help build future aviation and incident management capacity that we are implementing for the first time this fire season. The final update I'd like to give this morning is so new that it didn't even make it into your memo or materials. We will be contracting a call when needed air attack platform for a 75-day period, hopefully to begin on July 1. Our federal partners up north have transitioned to a more centralized coverage model, moving air attack resources to be based out of Missoula and leaving North Idaho without any until incident activity warrants. Without a locally available air attack platform, IDL cannot guarantee the immediate utilization of all of our contracted aviation resources on emerging incidents. Air attack provides the aerial coordination necessary to safely integrate multiple aircraft types, manage a complex airspace, and prioritize suppression objectives while maximizing the effectiveness of the aerial firefighting resources. Staff has negotiated a daily rate significantly less than the typical call when needed rate through a guaranteed contract structure. This is the most cost-effective method for ensuring coverage during our peak season this year. I'll close with this. The wildland fire environment continues to evolve, making strong partnerships more important than ever. The support represented here today reflects the strength of those relationships and our shared commitment to protecting Idaho. While we cannot predict exactly what the season will bring, I'm confident that together we are prepared, coordinated, and as ready as we have ever been to meet the challenges ahead. At this time, Jake and I, will stand for questions.
Questions? So, give me a thumbnail, the dispatch moving it. Where was it before and now it's in Missoula?
We had, Governor, members of the board, we had, our federal partners have historically had air attack platforms in Coeur d'Alene and Grangeville. I will also say that the type of air attack platform, the type of specific aviation, they are faster than they used to be, and that does have something to do with the new coverage model. So it is not that we won't have them available to us, but they are not going to be as close or as guaranteed as they have been in the past.
Telephones are marvelous things.
Governor,
Go
if
ahead.
I may, I just, obviously I've taken the time each year to go meet with the crews, and I just want to give a shout out to Casper, the fire warden here in the Southwest District. Casper's retiring here at the end of the month, but he took me up on a fire up in Sweet Nola a while back, and he's just been a great person to get to work with along the way. And then also I'll give a indirect shout out to Superintendent Critchfield. I've got a close family friend, Logan Cook, who's now on one of the fire crews. He's a hand crew up in the North Panhandle, and he went through the DTEC, the CTE programs at Boise School District to get his credentials. And at, I don't know, Logan's probably 18, ready to go. I think he's already out on fires at this point in time. So I think all the efforts are paying off. So thank you, Julia.
Thank
Get
you.
our State Street guys out State Street when it takes 2 hours for me to get from here to Emmett at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when the traffic's bad. We might have to look at some kind of a satellite outside of this incredibly congested Boise Valley when you have a fire.
Trying to turn left there doesn't work very well. Yeah.
Other questions? Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julia and Jake. Governor, Land Board members, the last item on the agenda, on the information agenda, are our annual Employee of the Year awards. And how this is going to work is we have 5 awards total. I'll be quick. And recipients will come up and receive their awards from Bill and Michelle over here. Have a seat up front, and then hopefully we can get a quick photo with the Land Board afterwards. So if you'll indulge me, I'm going to go through this quickly and recognize some of our amazing staff. And so the objective of the Employee of the Year Awards is to recognize outstanding contributions toward achieving the mission of the Department of Land's employees and continuous service to the agency, the endowments, and the citizens of Idaho. And we do have 5 awards. We do have criteria. and this is really focused on our folks who really are exemplifying and living our values on a daily basis. We have awards today for ownership, accountability, unity, and stewardship. And so I'll jump right into this without further ado and start with accountability. So accountability is about taking ownership of critical responsibilities and delivering results that people can depend on. This year's Accountability Award recipient exemplifies that every day. As our payroll specialist, Cameron Foster carries responsibility for one of the most important functions of the agency, ensuring employees are paid accurately and on time. Since stepping into this role following Luma implementation, he has managed payroll for hundreds of employees, including our large seasonal workforce. What stands out about Cameron is his reliability and willingness to step up when challenges arise. He approaches complex issues with professionalism, attention to detail, and a commitment to finding solutions. His work often happens behind the scenes, but it has a direct impact on every employee in this organization. For his dedication, professionalism, and unwavering commitment to serving others, please join me in congratulating Cameron Foster as the 2025 Accountability Award recipient. Okay, congratulations, Cameron. Okay, we'll move quickly on to the Ownership Award. The Ownership Award recognizes someone who consistently steps forward, takes responsibility, and helps move the organization forward. This year's recipient is Eric Valaquette. He has demonstrated those qualities time and time again. Eric manages responsibilities across multiple programs and areas of operations while maintaining a broad perspective on what is best for the MICA area field office and the agency. He is known for tackling difficult challenges head-on, making thoughtful decisions, and following through on commitments. Rather than avoiding tough situations, Eric embraces them and works towards practical solutions that benefit both employees and the organization. For his leadership, initiative, and strong sense of ownership, please join me in congratulating Eric Valaquette as the recipient of the 2025 Ownership Award. Okay, on to stewardship. Stewardship is one of those core responsibilities of our agency, and this year's recipient embodies that value in every sense of the word. Joe Hopfer has demonstrated exceptional leadership, particularly during a period of transition in the Priest Lake area. When the timber supervisor position became unexpectedly vacant, Joe stepped into a leadership role and provided stability, direction, and continuity when it was needed most. Joe's career journey from seasonal firefighter to timber supervisor reflects his commitment to learning, growth, and service. He is respected not only for his technical expertise, but also for his willingness to support his colleagues, his community, and the next generation of natural resources professionals. For his leadership, dedication, and commitment to stewardship, please join me in congratulating Joe Hopfer, recipient of the 2025 Stewardship Award. Okay, we have two more awards. The Unity Award. The Unity Award recognizes someone who strengthens relationships, supports others, and brings people together. This year's recipient is Brooke Hasty, who exemplifies those qualities every day. Brooke is known throughout the organization for her positive attitude, responsiveness, and willingness to help whenever she is needed. She is someone her coworkers can always rely on. One of Brooke's most visible accomplishments this year was her leadership in coordinating our all-staff meeting. Through months of planning and attention to detail, she helped create an event that brought employees together from across the state and received overwhelming positive feedback. For her commitment to teamwork, collaboration, and creating a positive workplace culture, please join me in congratulating Brooke Hasty, recipient of the 2025 Unity Award. Congratulations, Brooke. Okay, our final award is the Overall Employee of the Year Award. So our Employee of the Year Award recognizes an individual who consistently demonstrates all of the values that define the Idaho Department of Lands. This year's recipient is Jason Laney. Jason is respected throughout the organization for his kindness, humility, and genuine care for others. He understands that great leadership starts with supporting people and makes a difference, and he makes a deliberate effort to know his team members, recognize their strengths, and help them succeed. Those who work with Jason describe him as a patient and compassionate leader who creates an environment where people feel valued, supported, and empowered to do their best work. His positive influence extends well beyond his immediate team and strengthens our organization. For his outstanding leadership, commitment to others, and embodiment of ideal values, please join me in congratulating Jason Laney as our 2025 Employee of the Year. And I believe Jason is online.
And the stream is not up to speed.
Okay, so should we do this one in July then, Jim? All right, so how about a big round of applause for our 2025 award recipients? I gotta say, Governor and Land Board members, it really is people like these individuals that make all the difference in the success of our organization. And I can't say enough about how much I appreciate their dedication and their commitment to living our values and supporting our team members and getting some good things done for the mission of the Department of Land. So thank you all. And Governor, that concludes the meeting for the day.
Good, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, we are adjourned.